Hey everyone, Sam here, otherwise known as FPL Pricey. In today's video, I'll be running through my early transfer plans ahead of FPL Gameweek 4. Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today, we'll be running through my early thinking for transfer plans going into Gameweek 4, and of course, a look back at how I got on in Gameweek 3. If you did enjoy today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe as we chase down 5,000 subscribers before Christmas. A deeper look at my Gameweek 3 performance, 64 points, a very big green arrow for me, up from 5.4 to 2.4 million. It just goes to show how congested everything is at the moment as well, given that you can jump 3 million with a half decent score of 64 points. It's not exactly a world shattering score, and I've halved my rank in one game week. So if you're feeling a little bit negative about FPL at the moment and you're not enjoying where you are rank-wise, it's still so tight. You can get up those ranks very, very quickly. Looking at my side, I made two free transfers, Palmer and Strand Larsen both being significant doubts. In fact, Palmer was confirmed out going into Game Week 3. Felt like it forced my hand a little bit. If it was just Palmer out, I would have been tempted to roll the transfer and maybe start Anderson. But with Strand Larsen also a major doubt, it felt like an opportunity where I could downgrade the Palmer position to Ismail Assar and upgrade my bench striker, Mark Giu, all the way up to João Pedro, who I felt would get better minutes with Palmer out of the side. Also, the chance of a penalty as well. Now, obviously, he didn't take the penalty and maybe gifted it slightly to Enzo Fernandez, but he did still score and got bonus points, and Ismail Assar scored as well. So very happy with my two free transfers. And of course, what it does mean is, unfortunately, I've only got one free transfer going into Game Week 4, which we'll discuss later on. Bruno Fernandes getting a last-minute penalty is a little bit lucky as my captain, of course, and I was very grateful that he did. However, putting yourself in a position to get lucky is definitely a thing in FPL. And when you pick a 90-minute man who is on penalties, when he gets a penalty in the 90th minute, it's not completely down to fortune. There is obviously a massive slice of variance there going my way. So I'm very grateful for that, and 20 points for him as my captain. Moving through my side, Undai continues to impress. Another goal that's back-to-back for him. 7 points for him. And two of my players, Porro and Tarkowski, both got DEFCON points added on as well. Anderson, my starting Anderson, not my Fulham Anderson, also very, very close to DEFCON. That's 3 weeks in a row that he's got an 11 DEFCON points, so one off the threshold each time. So I could have 6 extra points from him if he just got that extra tackle in each game, but these are the breaks. So 2 points from him yet again. I've been very impressed with Anderson actually as a player, but Nottingham Forest have been a little bit disappointing. Murillo, obviously in my defence, no clean sheets from him just yet. He does have good fixtures to come, but there just seems something a little bit off with Forest at the moment. They don't seem completely with it. There's maybe a bit of a stylistic change going on behind the scenes. The manager obviously doesn't seem too happy either, and their data has dropped off significantly as well. So Murillo is on very thin ice for me, even with good fixtures round the corner. Now, Watkins is another player I'm pretty concerned by, and no returns from him so far this season. However, there were some green shoots against Crystal Palace. He got a few shots away, a few relatively big chances. And with good fixtures to come, I think he's a player that I'm probably just going to hold firm on for now, although I completely understand why some people would be looking at shipping him off, especially if you're on a wild card. There's very little chance I'd look at including him, even with the fixtures to come. They have bolstered their side with attacking options on deadline day, so they might be a little bit better going forward. And I do expect Ollie Watkins, Rodgers to all start returning at some point. And with the fixtures to come, I'm happy enough to hold, although 9 million, 8.9 now is a lot of money to be spending on a striker who's not getting anything. I think I've got bigger issues in my side though, so he's probably going to get a stay of execution for the time being. Salah was pretty quiet against Arsenal. He's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start this season, but there's no way I'm selling him ahead of Burnley. And again, it's roots to points, a bit like Bruno, 90-minute man on penalties. He hasn't got a penalty yet, so that would have helped him in the first few game weeks. And even with a slow start, he's got 2 attacking returns in 3 weeks as well. So no way I'm getting rid of him just yet. There are bigger issues with my side. Speaking of, the immediate issues are probably Ismail Assar in my midfield. Obviously went off injured in the 90th minute against Aston Villa after scoring a goal, which was helpful, but it looks like that could be a pretty significant injury. There are rumours of a grade 2 hamstring tear. We haven't had that confirmed yet, but if that is true, he could be out anywhere between a month to 2 months. So he would be a transfer out for me pretty quickly. Although because that's unconfirmed yet, I still hold out some hope that he might come back after the international break. And maybe it was just a little bit of an international break injury where he comes back pretty quickly afterwards. But that does seem relatively unlikely at time of recording. It seemed like a fairly significant injury. Strand Larsen also has pulled out of international duty as well. So I'm monitoring him, and he is a doubt going into game week 4. And I've only got one free transfer to deal with it as well. So those two issues could leave me with a few too many problems going into game week 4 for my liking. Nonetheless, though, 64 points from game week 3. I'm very happy with my 2 free transfers and how they performed, and a big green arrow going into game week 4 and the international break, of course. Do let me know how you got on in game week 3 below, and let's move on to how my team's shaping up ahead of game week 4. Right then, so here is how my side is lining up ahead of game week 4 at time of recording. 1 free transfer, 0.8 in the bank to deal with any sort of issues that arise. I think on paper, if all of these players were fit to play, I'd be relatively happy with it. Obviously not ideal though, because I've only got 1 Liverpool player against Burnley away from home and 1 Crystal Palace player, that being Ismaila Sarr, at home to Sunderland. Now, Ismaila Sarr is a significant doubt going into game week 4, so I might have no Crystal Palace coverage and only 1 free transfer to get up to either a second Liverpool player or some sort of Crystal Palace coverage. And it's not just them I'm missing out on either. I've got no Arsenal against Nottingham Forest. I've got no Newcastle against Wolves. I've got no Man City against Man United either. So there's plenty of opportunities that I'm not able to take advantage of with just 1 free transfer here. With the 2 flags as well, all it would take is one of those 2 players to be injured, and I'm probably relying on my bench a little bit this week. And of all weeks to be relying on my bench, most weeks I'd be pretty happy to do so. This week, not so much, considering I've only got Burnley players at home to Liverpool and not Nottingham Forest players away at Arsenal. Now, there's an argument to say that Nottingham Forest away at Arsenal, they might revert back to their traditional style, low block a little bit, play on the counter. They'll get some DEFCON points, Murillo and Anderson, arguably. So maybe it's not the end of the world. But if both Ismaila Sarr and Strand Larsen are out going into game week 4, I don't really want to be playing both of my Nottingham Forest players, and even playing one is far from ideal when there are a lot of other teams with very good fixtures that I have no coverage on whatsoever. So I think I'm on the back foot a little bit going into game week 4, especially with those injury doubts. And if Strand Larsen is confirmed out or a significant doubt going into game week 4, obviously Sarr seems much more likely to be out, but if both of them are, then I think options like a free hit will become much more tempting going into the deadline. It's also worth noting that I'm covering off none of the best 4 clean sheet odd teams going into game week 4, that being Arsenal, Liverpool, Crystal Palace or Newcastle. And obviously with only 1 free transfer, I can only get to one of them without taking a hit. And I don't love the idea of taking a hit in game week 4. I think there is upside to it, but every route that I look at with a double move does leave me on the back foot a little bit. And it's very unlikely that I'd be able to make up those points with any of my moves. All of that being said, like I said at the start of the section, I don't hate this side going into game week 4 if all of the players were fit. My defense looks absolutely fine, if not optimal. Porro away at West Ham, Tarkowski and Anderson both defensive contribution monsters with home fixtures, and Sanchez has gotten off to a good start clean sheet wise away at Brentford, not bad at all. In my midfield, I've still got the best captain for the week, I believe, in Salah. Bruno Fernandes could get something and defensive contributions against City. Undai at home to Aston Villa, he's been fantastic. Watkins, João Pedro, Strand Larsen, it's not a bad side, but it's not the side I'd be picking if I was on a free hit by any means. So I am tempted to use a free hit if I've got 2 issues with my side to deal with, that being Sarr and Strand Larsen. Even if only one of them was confirmed out, I'd still be a little bit tempted. But it is worth noting that looking at my side here, there is a risk, considering I don't think it's a terrible side, that even if I tried to optimize with a free hit and chase the upside on all of those teams that I mentioned I don't have enough coverage on, these players could outperform them. So a free hit would come with some risk attached. All of these players could do well this week. So I am a little bit reluctant to play it. But I think if both of those players, Sarr and Strand Larsen, are injured, it's going to become very tempting to do so. Let's have a look at some of the ideal transfers that I might be looking at if I try to resist the free hit going into game week 4, especially if only one of Sarr or Strand Larsen is confirmed out. So transfer option number 1 would be to move Murillo out for Munoz or any other Crystal Palace player. I do marginally prefer Munoz if money is no object, just for that attacking upside. As you can see, an XGI of 0.29 is very strong, and a lot of that is goal threat. In fact, at times in game week 3, he was almost playing as a striker, so I'm very bullish on Munoz, and I do think he is the defender to own or buy ahead of game week 4. However, the other Crystal Palace options still very good. Lacroix at 5, defensive contributions and attacking threat from set pieces, or even Gahey or Richards, both good in their own right and much cheaper. So going for any of them, absolutely fine. I think if you've got the money, Munoz is slightly ahead of any of them and worth the extra money, but not by much. So going with any of them, absolutely fine. Moving away from Murillo would be with a little bit of a heavy heart because he's got good fixtures to come in 5 and 6. But if I did make this move, I'd maintain my strategy of free hitting in game week 6, one of Nottingham Forest's good fixtures, so I don't need to worry about that so much. And of course, Munoz, who plays Liverpool that week, I can just free hit him out as well. So this would be a move with significant upside in game week 4. Of course, a much better home fixture, 4 times the odds of a clean sheet. As you can see, the clean sheet percentages on screen. And over the next 5 game weeks, Munoz is expected to beat Murillo in terms of the expected points via Solio Analytics. That's obviously tuned in with live market data. So do go check that out. The link is in the description if you wanted to have a little look for yourself. So this is option number 1. What this would mean is that I can play a 4-3-3, take Sarr out of the lineup, who seems like a significant doubt, and if he's confirmed out, a 4-3-3 would probably be the way I play it. And this would be on the proviso that Strand Larsen is fit to play. He could play up top in the 3, and then I can just keep benching Anderson away at Arsenal for Nottingham Forest and go with 4 at the back, Munoz slotting in next to Anderson, the Fulham Anderson, Tarkowski, and Pedro Porro as well. So this would be maybe the preferred option. However, there is another one that I like the look of to deal with the Sarr issue immediately. So option number 2 is to transfer Ismaila Sarr straight back out of the side. If we get news that he is out for a significant period of time, that might be a pretty reasonable strategy, especially when you're looking at bringing in a player like Paqueta, who's a little bit cheaper, so saves me a bit of money. Good XGI per 90 as well so far this season. 90-minute man on penalties. He's in red hot form as well. At time of recording, he's scored 4 on the bounce, including in international duty and in the cup as well. So he's a player who's looking pretty good value for money at under 6 million. Tottenham at home doesn't seem like the worst fixture to be picking him up for either. And he's just one of those steady Eddie picks that should tick along nicely, considering he's on some set pieces. He's got penalties as well. I do like this as a move, although it is worth noting that I'd probably only make this move if we know that Sarr is out for a significant period of time. This would put me into a 3-4-3 for game week 4. So Paqueta would come in for Sarr directly. And again, it would be on the proviso that Strand Larsen is okay to play away at Newcastle. That is, of course, a risk. And it does still mean that I've got none of the best 4 clean sheet odds covered off in my defence. So I wouldn't be getting Munoz at home to Sunderland. I wouldn't have any Arsenal, any Liverpool, or any Newcastle covered off. So it might not be optimal or ideal for this game week, but again, it would save the free hit. So I'm weighing up whether or not this might be a more sensible way of playing it to deal with an injury and to help me push back or push away the use of a free hit for another few weeks. Right then, so I thought I'd wrap up by taking a look at FPL.team to map out my moves for this game week and beyond. It is a fantastic free tool to use, by the way. If you want to check it out, just FPL.team and it should take you right there. I'm currently in a 3-4-3 for game week 4, but obviously that's without any transfers used. It looks very unlikely that Sarr's going to be fit. A little bit more likely that Strand Larsen could be back, but again, there is risk attached there. And if I made my preferred move, I think it would probably be Murillo out for Munoz. Now, Munoz coming in would probably put me in a 4-3-3 with Sarr most likely to be out. And with Strand Larsen back in the 11, hopefully he plays, and that could prevent me from needing to lean on Anderson away at Arsenal for Nottingham Forest. And I think if everything went my way, this team doesn't look too bad for game week 4. And of course, it helps me put off the free hit. However, with Strand Larsen also being a significant doubt, it could end up looking something a bit like this, with Anderson playing and Strand Larsen dropping to my bench because he doesn't play. Now, that 4-2 doesn't look particularly promising, especially with Anderson in there as well. And overall, I think that sets me quite far behind what I would deem an optimal side for game week 4. So if Strand Larsen and Sarr are both out, that one free transfer probably doesn't get me close enough to a side that I'm happy with. Although it is worth noting that sometimes it's just not possible to have a team that you're completely happy with every single week. If you look to optimize every week, you're going to put yourself in a position where you use chips early on and you run out of steam a little bit later, and you have to take hits to catch up every single week. So I am maybe a little bit hesitant to play my free hit because it means that I don't have that chip in my back pocket for later on if other issues occur, and it takes me away from my current strategy of free hit 6, wildcard 13. But I also do quite like the look of a free hit 4, wildcard 7 strategy. And if I went that way, my team for game week 5 doesn't actually look that bad either. So if I reset this quickly, move across to game week 5, in fact, I'll just play my free hit, so I've only got one free transfer to play with in game week 5. I'm actually not set up that badly. I could have a pretty decent side going into game week 5 without using any free transfers whatsoever. This would probably be my bust team going into game week 5 without free transfers. Sarr could be back by this point. Obviously, Strand Larsen looks more likely to be playable in game week 5, Leeds at home. West Ham away for Sarr as well is not bad at all if he were to be back. He is still a little bit of a risk, and if he was, then maybe I could just look at using a free transfer this week instead, possibly taking Sarr out for Paqueta in this week. Again, without a hit, it means I've optimized game week 4 and I've targeted Arsenal players, Newcastle players, more Liverpool, more Palace, which I couldn't go aggressive on in game week 4 without the free hit. And in game week 5, it looks pretty good. In fact, I don't even hate a bench boost in game week 5. I know you've got double Everton on the bench away at Liverpool, but Ndai can score against anyone and is on penalties. And Tarkowski also gets DEFCON most of the time. So actually, considering the Burnley players have Nottingham Forest at home, with one free transfer, I might have a decent enough bench boost just to get it out of the way after free hitting in game week 4. And then I can look at wildcarding in game week 7 just to make sure that I'm back onto a side that I'm really happy with for the long term, rather than getting myself in a little bit of a mess over the next few weeks just to try and optimize week to week. So all of that being said, I think my most likely move right now is actually to free hit going into game week 4. But if we get positive news on Strand Larsen that he is playable going into game week 4, then I might just make the one free transfer, take out Murillo, go to a 4-3-3. And like I said, I'm just doing it live on screen here. Bring in Munoz for Sarr. Again, very doubtful he plays. Go 4-3-3. And I think I can probably get through game week 4 like that. So I'm maybe just waiting on a little bit of news on Strand Larsen and Sarr. Obviously, if Sarr is playable as well, fantastic. That probably prevents me from needing to free hit. But I think because it's unlikely he's okay, a free hit does look pretty likely at time of recording. Obviously, the situation can change. Even a wild card's in the back of my thoughts as well, but I'm not sure I've got enough information that I'm confident on just yet to press that button, because it seems pretty definitive to hit a wild card now, considering I just don't feel massively confident on what the meta strategy is moving forward just yet. I'd prefer to wait a couple more weeks and get a bit more data, but that's just me. If you prefer a wildcard now, that is absolutely fine. And do let me know in the comments below if it's something that you're looking at doing, and I can get a wildcard draft video made over the international break for you to have a look at as well. Now, as we reach the end of today's video, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, I'll see you next week as we start getting closer to that game week 4 deadline.